Hello friends! Welcome to my channel. Today I'll show you how I created 3 forest creatures, posable dolls, a hare, a bear and a fox. For these dolls I used silicone molds to create the faces, which I had already painted. I made the heads using aluminum foil and masking tape, attaching a wire for support and a cotter pin for head rotation, just like in traditional teddy bear making. Paper mache is my favorite technique, so I used it for the next steps. I applied small pieces of paper with PVA glue, layering 2 to 3 coats at a time and letting them dry. In total, I built up about 6 to 8 layers. I can tell when the head is ready by touch. It feels firm like a strong box. For the hair, I attached wire ears right away, wrapping them in foil and covering them with paper. Paper mache makes the head both lightweight and strong. I used different top layers for each doll. The hare and the fox are finished with paper mache clay, while the bear is made with air-dry clay. Paper mache is familiar to me, but it was still learning how to work with air-dry clay during this project. It feels cold, smooth and heavier than paper mache. As the air-dry clay dried, it cracked, so I mixed a bit of clay with water to create a paste and carefully filled the cracks. At this point, I decided to make the hare's ears a little longer using foil, paper and glue. At this point, I decided to make the hare's ears a little longer using foil, paper and glue. Each step requires drying time and patience. This is when I realized that no matter my original idea, the creature itself was starting to show me what it wanted to be. I added another layer of paper mache to the box, let it dry, and was happy with its strength. Then I applied paper mache paste. I don't make my own paste. I used ready-made brands like Jovi and Renaissance. I'll leave the names in the description. I'm happy with them and don't want to experiment with recipes for now. I applied the clay gradually, allowing it to dry between layers. Paper mache details are best shaped with a firm synthetic brush rather than sculpting tools. I finished the hair the same way. Since each step takes time to dry, I always work on several creatures at once. I shaped the fox's head, making sure there were no dents or uneven spots. Once everything dried, sanding was the next step. Paper mache takes a bit more effort to smooth out, while air dry clay only needed light sanding. I choose the colors based on the fabrics I plan to use for the outfits. I also design patterns and sell them on Spoonflower. In the past, Spoonflower required fabric samples before approving designs for sale, so over the years, I've collected a lot of fabric swatches. Now I finally found a use for them. I painted the dolls with acrylic paints. The first layer was thick, and after it dried, I worked in thinner layers like watercolor. I sealed everything with matte acrylic varnish. I sewed the simple jumpsuits by hand, stitching the front and back together so I could attach the head to the wireframe. I rolled the wire with wool yarn to make sure it wouldn't poke through the fabric, keeping the doll soft and lifelike. This way of sewing clothes directly onto the doll isn't the most convenient. I'll try other methods in the future. To make the doll sit properly, I sewed a small weighted bag filled with fine, clean, dried sand. I attached it securely with wool thread, then wrapped the body with polyester stuffing and secured it with medical gauze to keep everything in place. From the inside, I sewed the sleeves to the arms and the legs to the body. Now for some details. My hair needed a collar. I used the medical gauze, starch and acrylic paint, letting it dry flat and stretched. I stitched the side seams with an overcast stitch from the outside. For the tail, I used a glass bead. I love beads and always find ways to use them. The hair was almost done, but it looked too new, too clean, without any history or wisdom in its eyes. To give it an aged, well-loved look, I used tea mixed with watercolor for soft, natural stain effect. Then I added depth and wear with oil paint, focusing on seams, raised areas and folds. I made a collar from matching fabric and layered it with pieces of my dyed gauze. I stitched the edges, aged it slightly and decorated it with beads, of course. The hare was finished. The fox was painted the same way as the hare. Acrylic paint works perfectly on papier-mâché. However, air-dry clay has a smooth, cold surface, so acrylic behaves differently. Pastel or watercolor would work better for shading, but since I needed large areas of solid brown, I stuck with acrylic. I don't use oil paints, but they would also work well. I wore gloves while painting to prevent fingerprints or smudges from my warm hands. Once the bear and fox were painted and sealed, I assembled the bodies. Again, I referred to my sketch but adjusted proportions as I walked. Once the armature was complete, I cut out the gemsweet pattern, keeping in mind that the body would be wrapped in stuffing, so I added extra space. I sewed the gemsweet just like the hares, attaching the head to the wireframe with cotter pins and discs. Since air-dry clay heads are heavier than papier-mâché, I made 2 small sandbags for the bear's balance. Then I sewed the side seams and started on the collar. Since the outfits are simple, the collar became the main decorative feature. For the bear, I made a layered ruffled collar from gauze, tea-stained and starched, sewn into a base of velvet ribbon. I edged the bear the same way as the hare, adding oil paint to the collar and the body. I decorated it with a hidden red crystal, a little secret only its owner will know about. The hare and fox also have secret crystals. Finally, I added tiny beads to the collar. It took me 2 days, but it was worth it. A royal collar, no less. And now the fox. This is where the story took an unexpected turn. As I walked, I realized that sticking to my original idea wasn't necessary at all. The fox had its own personality and refused to be what I first imagined. I redid it 3 times, rewrapped the body, but each time it came out differently. I made the weighted sandbag, attached and wrapped the body in stuffing just like the other dolls. And here is the fox secret, a vintage locket from a US national park that I found at the flea market. Now it has finally found its owner. I made the tail with embroidery floss and beads, sewing it on securely. Then I etched it just like the other dolls. To match the tail's decoration, I added embroidery floss and beads to the collar. The fox was finished. It turned out big and proud, full of importance. Well, if that's how it wants to be, who am I to argue? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like and leave a comment. Your support motivates me to share more of my creative process with you. See you in the next video. Bye!